life happens, man. We got to stop looking at like as from a like a victimized standpoint. Like, I'm sorry that like things go wrong in people's lives up and down, but that's just called life. And being resilient to it and saying, whatever comes at my family, like I can handle, and I can become the best version of myself so I can handle those things, because there's a lot of issues we deal with as dads that I don't feel like our children have to like really take on themselves. And sometimes we like put that on them or over explain things that we're going through that they don't need to, as children really know that stuff until they become an adult, right?
Major announcement time. Check this out. I'm so excited. March 7th through the 10th, 2024, out here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, there is an event called the Conscious Investor Growth Summit. And I will be one of the speakers at that event. I am so excited to be part of that and speaking alongside so many amazing speakers. Get ready to elevate your life at the Conscious Investor Growth Summit. Picture this: thought leaders, seasoned investors, world-class visionary entrepreneurs, all in one place, sharing their insights to transform your life. Don't miss out on the chance to build purposeful relationships and connect with like-minded people. Make sure that you secure your spot now, because seats are limited. Go to consciousinvestorgrowthsummit.com. Thomas, you're a husband, dad, you're the founder of Dadhood, you're the host of Dadhood podcast, coach, speaker, martial artist, and so much more, man. So pumped to have you back on the show. Thank you, dude.
No, thank you for inviting me, dude. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to flow and have a fun conversation with you.
Come on, man. It was funny. We were chatting just before we hit record here, but you and I chatted on this show back in May of 2020 during the world. It was just crazy. It was falling apart. And you've done so much awesome stuff since then. So pumped to have you back on. But let's get right into it, man. Like, what is Dadhood? Why did you decide to put this thing together?
Yeah, dude. So originally Dadhood started as Car Seats and Coffee. And I think last time we chatted, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was just a podcast. I started it up because I didn't feel like dads had really good resources. Tons of stuff for moms out there. But dads just need a space sometimes where they don't feel like they have to necessarily engage with the conversation. They can just sit back and listen, but still resonate with somebody, right? So started Car Seats and Coffee up. And then, I was sitting there and I was building this dadhood kind of on the side. And I'm like, no, dude, it's all dadhood. It's all 24/7 dadhood. So we just threw it in. And dadhood really is about helping men become the best version of themselves so that they can be the best dads possible, right? Because we can't take care of our kids if we're not right. So it's all about that, creating resources for dads. Obviously the show is another resource, but tools and stuff like that. And then also coaching and other aspects that men need just to become, like I said, that best version. And sometimes just minor tweaks to be that. So.
Oh, it's so important, man. I mean, you talked about feeling lost and uncertain and alone as a new dad. And even after your second son was born, I know that I felt the same when my kids were born as well. Walk me through that feeling that you had, and what steps did you take to really get helped, to kind of figure out like where you're at today? Like, walk me through that journey there.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So it was funny. We had our first son, and right when I felt like I was starting to like understand what my new role as being a dad was, my wife dropped the bomb and was like, "Hey, by the way, the second one's coming." And I was like, like I didn't even know how to process it, dude. And that's why, like I said, I started like looking up different answers, like just the normal Google search, like what happens if you feel lost as a dad? Like I didn't want to slip into a depression, but the only role I knew before becoming a dad was climbing corporate ladders and like chasing money and chasing things. And I was like really good at that, right? And then now I have these other beings that like depended on me to be more than just that, more than just the things that I own, just more than just like my bank account and stuff. And it was like, I didn't know where to even go, dude, how to even start. And it was throwing me off because it was this new version of myself, which I didn't really allow the old version time to say like have gratitude for it and time to like release it and almost mourn it in a sense and be like, that was an old chapter and this is the new chapter and I'm ready to step into it now. So just moving forward through all that and then creating a space, like I've grown so much more, Erik, by chatting with dads like yourself and many other dads on the show than I ever had like trying to attempt this by myself, dude,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
looking backwards at like how I was raised by my own father, you know, because there was some individual, like some tie-ups with that too, and things
Yeah.
that I didn't want to do. You know, he's great at some things, and other things he just wasn't the kind of dad that I wanted to be moving forward. So
Man, it's so true. You know, when my wife and I first got married, like we both came from broken homes. So we knew exactly what we didn't want out of a marriage, but we didn't have any good mentors to teach us like how to have a good marriage. Right. And we did the premarital counseling thing, but that was more like, well, how many times do you want to have sex this month? Like when you first get married, it's like those like not real helping questions in your marriage, you know? And even when my daughter was born, you know, we waited 5 years for us to start having kids. We just kind of spent time getting to know each other. But I remember the day that my daughter was born. My wife did this crazy long, she was in labor for 36 hours and unbelievable like labor pregnancy there. But the day that we got to take my daughter home, here's me like new dad, no idea what I'm doing. My job at this point is just to protect my daughter, protect my wife, right? We're driving home from the hospital. I live about 3.5 miles from the hospital where my daughter was born. So my wife and I are leaving the hospital and we come up to this intersection where there's a free right turn next to ours. And I'm in this lane over here. And as I go past this free right turn, a car jumps the curb and almost hits my car. So I'm like, now it's like super focused. I'm like, what the heck's happening? Right. Not even a mile down the road. It's this straightaway. And this dude flies past me on a motorcycle going like 80. And I look at my rearview mirror and he starts wobbling and bites it, dude, and shoots down the concrete like 100 feet. I'm going, I'm 3 miles from my house and these two things have already happened. Like, I don't want to leave the house for like a year now. Like,
it's like an action film going on
dude,
live around you. You're just like, what?
it was so crazy, dude. Like, and then I get home, I'm like, we're never leaving the house. Like, this is nuts, you know?
But that's
But
such a wild concept, Eric, when you really think about it, because they bring your child down, depending on like what the hospital and stuff looks like, and
yeah,
they're just like, here you go.
man.
And like I feel like, especially as men, yes, we're aware, like
Yeah,
9 months or whatever, if that's the duration it goes, we're aware of this concept, like, oh, a child's coming, but
yeah.
there's no like daily reminder other than
No.
like, you know, you'll get the, oh yeah, my kid will be here in 9 months, but there's nothing else, dude. So
Yeah.
there's no like real prep work into figuring out like who do you want to become once this
Mm,
child's there. You know,
yeah.
I've been writing
Huge.
that down lately, like, what dad do I want to be?
Uh-huh.
And then every day I'm checking myself against what I wrote down and asking, am I showing up today as that individual? Or am I showing up as an old pattern individual?
Come on.
And then
Huge.
once you have that locked down, the key is it's the consistency.
Yeah.
I'm not going to become that version today, but I will become that version if I keep putting in that work every day.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's the version my boys need. That's the dad they need me to show up as so that they can have the best experience with me as a father. So one day when they're sitting there talking to their own version of counseling or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm not the issue that they're sitting in there talking about.
Right. Come on, man. You also have this challenge, 40-day challenge, dad time challenge there on your website. It's 40 days, man. Like deep dive into this challenge. Like, what's this about, man?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I was sitting there and one day with my boys, I was like, you know what? I'm in the room with them constantly, but I'm not really present with them. I'm
Hmm.
doing other things. I'm thinking about building my brand. I'm working. You know, the phones, all the distractions we have. And I was like, man, what would it be like if I designated just 15 minutes of undivided attention to either both of them. I go hardcore into challenges. I'm like, I'm doing both of them every day, you know. But
Yeah.
I recommend everybody else is different. Maybe you just choose a child, or if you have one, just take 15 minutes, put the phone away, put the stuff
Hmm.
away, and go and become part of your child's world. Now, don't like ask them to come and do something you want to do. Find out what they want to do. Step into their world for 15 minutes and do this for 40 days and watch what happens, man. My kids will come to me, like, I'll pick them up for school and they'll be like excited. Dad, what are we going to do for the 15 minutes? This is not a long time, bro. It's
Right.
15 minutes. And it means more to them than any gift I could ever give them or any vacation I could take them on.
Huge. So good, man. Like I try to turn my phone off at 5 o'clock
Mm.
before I head downstairs. I work from home, so my kids are homeschooled, so we're all in the house at the same time all the time, like And so I really try at 5 o'clock to really put my phone away. Now I'm not perfect at that, but I really definitely try to put that phone down when I get downstairs, so I can be present with my daughter and my son and my wife, right? And but I think that's huge to do 15 minutes a day. I know that I don't do that all the time. I know that there's times where I'm like unintentionally being with my son for 15 minutes and we might be playing ball or something like that, which is great, but I need to be more intentional about that. And I think every dad really needs to step into that, man. That's huge, dude. Huge.
It's what so like, and I encourage people like, look, I get it. It's like, where do you even begin? Where do you
Right.
start? Sometimes there's such a disconnect
Yeah.
with like us dads and their kids because we have different roles. We've had different social pressures. We have different things, right? So I like created a whole bunch of things in this workbook. It's free. You can go on the site, download it. I'm not trying to make money off these things. I'm trying to build families.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man, it's massive, dude. One of the things you mentioned on your website, or actually three things that you mentioned on your website: authentic, loyal, and resilient, as kind of like that's what your dad is. Like, why those three?
whew, that's such a great question. I broke that down and like really thought like, what does the dadhood represent? And it's like when you can be resilient as a dad, right?
Hey, this is a quick shout out from one of our awesome sponsors. Check this out. Thank you to Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Look, my wife and I, we see Tracy and her team every single month for a couples massage, and it is the best thing. Tracy is a master massage specialist and a Hanu Ashiatsu trainer. You need to reach out to Tracy and her team. Make sure that you tell them that I sent you, and you'll get $25 off your next massage. Also, while you're there, check out CDA Brows, Body, and Ink. Make sure to tell Tracy that I sent you, and you'll save $100 on your next tattoo brows and plasma tightening services.
Life happens, man. We got to stop looking at like as from a victimized standpoint. Like, I'm sorry that like things go wrong in people's lives up and down, but that's just called life. And being resilient to it and saying, whatever comes at my family, like I can handle and I can become the best version of myself. So I can handle those things because there's a lot of issues we deal with as dads that I don't feel like our children have to like really take on themselves. And sometimes we like put that on them or over explain things that we're going through that they don't need to as children really know that stuff until they become an adult, right?
Yeah.
Loyalty, like you're in it. Like you have to step in, you're in it. There's no 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like
Yep.
when I say like you become part of it, like you are a dad now, like own that role and put in that work, right? And then just I think I was talking what I just was resilient. We were talking about loyalty, authentic.
Yeah.
Authentic, like look, you can fake a lot of people in this world. You can flex on the gram with all the nonsense. You can do all this stuff. Your kids will see right through it.
Yep.
Your kids are witnesses. They're there. They're present. Like you said, they're within the facility, your house, 24/7, whatever. They see you. Put down the masks, man. As dads, we got to drop the masks, and we have to show up. And if the person that we're showing up as isn't the individual we necessarily want to be, then that's why you got to write that stuff down. You got to put in the work, and it's going to be hard work. But what other commitment other than like raising your children to be the best versions also of themselves so they can go out in this world? What other job are you ever going to have that's going to be that satisfying if you put that work in?
Yeah. Come on, man. That's so good. I mean, and I still work a full-time job, but I know I have the reality of knowing that the company I work for, I'm just a number. It doesn't matter what company you work for. If you work for anybody, you're just a number, right? Like if I was to die today, they'd put an ad in the paper or whatever online. I'm old school. They'd put an ad online, right, and say, "Hey, we need to fill this role."
Yeah.
Family, though, we're not just a number. Like we are the dad. Like, and man, when I said I do to my wife almost 19 years ago at this point, like I meant it. And we've been through the hard stuff and we've been through the crazy stuff. My kids have seen the hard stuff, man. They've moved multi-state, but they know that I'm loyal. I'm authentic. They see me cry. They see me like angry, they see me happy and laughing, man, and they see me battle through those in resiliency, man. It's so good, dude. Those three, such powerful, man.
Dude, and you talked about it right there, Eric. You just said like you said I do to my wife, right? Just the same thing
Mhm.
I did. But
Yeah.
dude, have we ever just stopped and said, man, I also said I do to my kids.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Come
do.
on.
I will be there through thickness, through health, you know.
Yeah.
I will be there till the end,
Hmm.
you know. And I know that you've talked about it a lot on your show too. You talk about like the power of having religion, a foundation, having God in your life, having this kind of like faith and testimony. Also, like we need to create those same kind of like belief systems around like our family again, you know?
Yes.
Like I can have trust, I can have loyalty, I can have faith that my dad is going to step up. My dad's going to be there. My dad's going to, like you said, my dad might cry in front of me. My dad's going to like hold me though when I'm crying, just give me space. My dad's going
Hmm.
to let me fail. My dad's going to lift me up. Like there's, you know, educate me, teach me, all of these things. And I think if we can just start realizing how significant that word being a dad really is and what that role entails, man, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, so powerful, man. One of the cool things that you and I had chatted about that you do is this cold plunge. I love cold plunges, man. I hate cold showers, but I love cold plunges. But like, like how do you utilize breath work and cold plunges into your day, and what benefits are you seeing with that, man?
Oh, let's go. I love talking about this. I actually, probably, I don't know, 40 minutes ago was in the cold plunge. So I did
Okay,
a 3 minute round. I sat in there and at the end I go like full head under just because I want the complete experience, right?
come on. Yeah.
Um, Cold is a very interesting thing because you know it's going to suck walking up to it. Like
Yep.
going towards my tub, I'm like, I am not excited. People are like, oh, I love it. I love it. Look, I get it. We love the benefits of it. We don't love the pre-work, which is really, I think, the work. Like knowing something's going to be tough and still getting in, like
Hmm.
that's where the strength comes from, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so getting in the cold, I do it pretty much like every day. If I don't get in the tub, I'll do the cold shower. I just think it's so important. It helps reduce inflammation in our system. It reduces stress levels in our system. It increases endorphins, dopamine levels. I mean, there's a lot of medical benefits that come from cold exposure. But then packaging that with the breath work. So I actually dived into this. It was like with Wim Hof during
Hmm.
COVID because I'm like, look, everybody's talking about some respiratory illness that's going around. Like, I want to have the strongest lungs I can possibly have so I
Come
can
on.
face whatever's coming. So I started doing his like free, I mean, it's a free app or videos online you can watch. And I got really into it and started realizing what's going on, man. I'm holding my breath for like 2, 3 minutes plus on the exhale, not on like the inhale retention after the exhale. Like this, something's to this, you know, full body tingle, all that.
Yeah.
So I booked a trip and actually went out and trained with Wim. And dude, then that was a whole different level. And now breath work is something I do every day also.
Come on, dude. You got to go and hang with Wim and do that.
Yeah.
Dude, what an experience. Now, where's he based out again? I know he's moved around a little bit, but where's he based out of?
Yeah, so where I did it, I actually we flew. I was going to do it at his Poland place because that's where his place is at,
Yeah.
and you can do the cold or the winter retreat at Poland with him. Which, dude, I was like booked to do that, and then I'm glad I didn't go because it was like during the whole, not only during COVID, but it's when the war like started kicking off and people were fleeing into Poland,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
know, so which would have been like absolutely nuts.
Totally.
Yeah, so we did it at the I went and trained with him in the Pyrenees Mountains, which is like right on the border of like France and Spain
Okay.
up there.
Come
And
on.
dude, it was like literally 10 minutes. I sat in a tub with him in ice for 10 minutes and you know, like clinically people would say like you would die if you do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then you start realizing through like breath work and believing in your body and all of this like how incredible Eric our bodies are.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. So powerful, man, especially with the cold dips. And I've done I did a polar plunge one time out here on New Year's Day. The water was like 32. It was like 35 outside, and that was pretty cold. But that was before I even wanted like I was getting in and getting out. Like I wasn't trying to train my body to stay in that cold. But now, whenever I have an opportunity to do it, man, I'm all about getting in there at least that 3 minutes, like you mentioned, man, to help that, man. It's so good.
Yeah.
Now you're a seasoned podcaster, your current podcast, The Dadhood, which you mentioned there. It's such an awesome show. People need to go listen to this. But what's the journey that you're taking? Really, probably more dads than anybody, but like, what's that journey that you take people on when they're listening to the show?
Yeah. So the key for me on like the Dadhood show is allowing space, right?
Mhm.
I'm bringing individuals like yourself, and you got everything from CEOs to non-traditional dads to single dads, like all the different variations. The one thing is we're constantly asked to talk about like our achievements in life, right? People want to know like, Erik, how did you set up a podcast? Like, how did you get your podcast off the ground? And like, how are you doing this and that? And they want to ask these businessmen that have like, very successful businesses, like, what's the way that you did it? Like, what's the secret sauce so that I can do? How many times do we just get asked, like, tell me what it's like being a dad? Like,
Right.
like people just aren't asking those questions. So when I'm giving the space for these individuals to like open up and talk about it, we're diving into areas that like a lot of times they didn't even think about. It's like asking questions like, what's the message you would like your children to remember about you if you died? Like, whoa, wait, what? And it's
Right.
bringing some of this stuff to surface, right?
Mhm.
And it's really allowing a space, like I said, for other men too that might not ever want to be on a show, or they don't want to be part of the community, if you will, like
Mhm.
some of the other events that we're doing, but they want to sit in the back and they want to listen,
Yeah.
and they want to listen to episodes like yours and be like, it's not that I resonate with Thomas, I resonate with Erik.
Mhm.
And now I feel like I can like follow Erik's stuff because he said stuff that really resonated with how I want to raise my kids.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I can be part of his community without necessarily having to like dive fully in.
Mm. So good, man. Podcasting is like, you know, eh, like such an intimate conversation between one, two people, maybe solo show, but it's the listeners that kind of get a sneak in, right? And just listen in. And it can be so impactful just as a listener to hear those stories, to help them motivate, get out of some craziness or, that's going on in their life, man. It's so good. I wanted to ask you, you being a married dad and gone through marriage or in marriage right now, like my wife and I were at a restaurant over the weekend and it was like a Cafe Rio, like go grab food real quick. And we got up to the checkout and this kid, maybe 19, out of the blue says, "Hey, give me one piece of advice that would make for a successful marriage." And I just thought it was a weird, random like question that someone would ask me as I'm checking out at a restaurant. And ironically enough, my wife and I got in this crazy blow up argument like before we got there, right? So it was like we were kind of like tensions were a little bit high, and I had to go and apologize for some stuff that I said, right? So it was like this moment. But for you, being married, having two boys, if that question was asked to you, like what's that piece of advice that you would give someone that's a newlywed or going to be married soon to a dude, right? He's maybe not a dad yet, but he's getting into marriage. Like, what's that one piece of advice you'd give him?
Ooh. I'd say the one piece of advice I would give is to go into your marriage, go into creating this family with intention.
Mm,
I believe if
yeah,
we put intention behind anything we do, we are also putting energy behind it.
yeah,
And your intention and your focus goes like energy flows. So it's really about like, it's not this perfection. We get this like, what is the one thing I can do that's going to make my marriage better? Well, it's not one thing, my friend. It's
right.
going to be like, it's going to be daily practice.
Yeah.
It's going to be,
My wife had mentioned it as like her answer to that question was make sure it's a good partnership. Make
oh,
sure you're a good partner and communication is clear. And that really was like eye opening for him. He's like, oh, wow.
dude, it's so interesting. I tell people genuinely, you can make a lot of mistakes in life
Yeah.
when it comes to relationships, don't make mistakes in that one.
Right.
Like, people are like, oh, well, I feel like I'm being too picky. Well, are you being too picky or are you being irrational? Like, they're very different things. Like
Totally.
in a fairy tale, like you just get everything perfect. But like, you should be picky. You should find someone that wants to have tough conversations with you. You
Yeah.
should find someone who's willing to go to battle with you when times get hard, because they do get hard.
Yeah.
Like, you should find this, and you shouldn't settle for less. I think that we should focus for having a great relationship, because it can make or break, man, especially when you have kids. Like,
Totally.
oh man.
So good there. I know that you created this awesome thing called the Dad Deck.
Yeah.
I love this thing. Do you have a Dad Deck there in front of you?
Oh, dude, I got one right here. Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to say, pull one out, man, and let's actually answer this question live here, man. I think it would be awesome to do that.
So I on the front, I have one of my like dadhood stickers. So this does not come on the
That's awesome.
All right. Okay, dude. You know how we do this.
Yeah. Stop.
Okay, going right there.
Sorry, my screen froze. I couldn't see the deck in front.
It's all good. Ooh. Oh, this is an awesome question. All right, Eric. So what's the most embarrassing thing your kids have said in public?
Oh, man. I don't know if we have enough time to go over this stuff. Oh man, I feel like something just happened. Oh, here's what happened. This we were at line at Costco. This is like 3 weeks ago, and my wife and I, we always pick the wrong line to get in, right? Like, no matter what line we get in, there's always like an old person up front, like doing checks, right? Handwriting the checks. And it's ridiculous. And we're like, oh man, we picked the wrong line, but we don't say it out loud, right? So I'm at the store with my daughter, my son, my wife somewhere else. And there's literally one lady in front of me into the checkout. So we go pick out that line. And this lady, older lady, something's going on, handwriting the check, right? Like, something's not going right with the membership. And my daughter says out loud, oh, we always pick the wrong line. And I'm like, I mean, my head snapped as fast as you could think, man. And I was like, what? And the bummer part was, like, I get it. Like, she just wasn't thinking, she said out loud, but that older lady heard her and she turned around and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh, it's no big deal. Oh man, like I was so red in the face.
Oh my gosh.
What about for yourself?
Yeah, they just call it out as it is, though.
Totally, dude.
Yeah. So crazy.
Totally, man. What about for yourself?
Oh my gosh. So so I have a 9 and a 7-year-old, right? And my 7-year-old is like the most outgoing, like the funniest kid I've ever met in my life. And we go out to our mailbox. Well, our neighbor, he's yelling for his cat. He's like an older dude, and he's yelling out there, and he's like, lady, and he's yelling. Dude, my son, no joke, just stops and he's like, lady, starts yelling it back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I'm like, no. And my son's smiling, and he can see that I'm like trying to shut him down, like, no, and he just amps it up, dude.
Totally.
Yeah. He's like, here, kitty, kitty, lady. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I was like,
so funny, dude.
He does stuff like that all the time, dude. He just doesn't he doesn't even care. And he'll laugh when internally I want to laugh at a situation, but I know it's inappropriate too. Like, he's the dude that just like starts laughing out loud. Like, cracks me up, dude.
I think as kids, man, I laugh so much all the time whenever my kids, and I remember like when I was a kid, the one thing that my kids laugh about that I did as a kid, and it sticks out to me, is my dad like raised me watching ninja movies. No English, just ninja movies, straight on ninja movies. Like, we always watched ninja movies. So I grew up thinking like Asian people were always ninjas. And we were at a store one time, and I remember this so clearly. And I was, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 4. But this Asian dude walked past me, and I just, and kicked him right in the leg. My dad's like, get out of here, right? Like, my head just went straight to that. And my kids love to bring that up. Like, Dad, remember when you kicked that guy?
Oh, man.
So,
man. I think my kids like secretly wish, like it's so funny because we all do Taekwondo together,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
That's
And,
awesome.
like, I think they constantly are like, hey, Dad, it'd be so awesome. They say this. It'd be so awesome to see you fight somebody. And I'm like, I'm like, dudes, you know what happens when Dad fights somebody now? Dad
Yeah.
goes to jail. Like, it's
Right.
not.
Yeah, totally.
Where I get to just go and just have an awesome epic street battle and then just like walk away like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah, right. Totally. Man, Thomas, this was such a great conversation, dude. I loved having you back on the show, man. Thank you so much for what you do with Dadhood. You're impacting so many dads through your show and families, man. Like wives should be listening to this just so they get an insight of how we think too, man. Thank you for what you do, man. You're an absolute world changer, dude. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for letting me on your show. Like, it's always a blast. Great connecting with you, and keep grinding, dude.
Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I really appreciate it. I hope that my guest was able to bring you some amazing wisdom and knowledge to help you continue to fight for your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. If you could do me one big favor and just hit that subscribe button, I would so appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Keep changing the world. I believe in you. Have an amazing day.